Here are the top 10 best books that I read in 2024. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen, or better known on TikTok as Silly Little Books. I have been posting on TikTok for just over a year, so I thought I would bring it here to YouTube finally. I will just be talking about all things books. I will be doing some vlogs, doing some reading vlogs, reading challenges. I'm basically just so excited to be here. I thought there's literally no better time to do this than with my top 10 books of 2024. So if you do enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and also please let me know what your favourite book of 2024 was, because I do need some recs going into 2025. But without any further ado, let's just get into my top 10 books of 2024. You will see as I'm going through this list, it's going to start off so silly. As we get into like top 6, top 5, it's literally just going to be books that absolutely traumatised me and made me cry, because those are honestly just my favourite types of books. So stick with me if you do enjoy a sad book. But in number 10 we have Butcher and Blackbird. That's what I mean when I say it starts off silly. So Butcher and Blackbird is literally a romance about two serial killers, but I literally loved it, and the reason I loved it is because it was so unexpectedly wholesome. The characters themselves were not wholesome, but their relationship together was, and I think that is just so like comforting to me and made me enjoy it so much more. Rowan Kane has to be one of the top book boyfriends I have ever read. They were just so romantic, but it was just so romantic in a weird way. Also, I don't really know how to describe it, but the writing in this is basically like my exact taste and writing of like the characters, inner dialogue and their inner thought process. Hilarious, just honestly made me like giggle the entire time I was reading it. And I love books that genuinely feel like you're watching a rom-com movie, and that's exactly how this book made me feel. You guys will not be surprised that these next books ended up in my reading wrap up, but the first and second book in the Silver Pine series, I know I'm kind of cheating because it's more than one book, but I just have to mention the Silver Pine series because it played such a big part in my year. The first book is Holding the Reins. Holding the Reins is brother's best friend, kind of she comes back to the small town. It ends up being a bit of like a boss trope as well. If you're someone like me who loves country music, Loki completely 100% wants to move to America to live her cowboy romance dream, and you just love all the like stereotypically country things about America. This takes place in Kentucky. A country song will be mentioned every chapter. In my opinion, it's everything you want in a cowboy romance, just because like the family dynamic, the friendships, the country side of it, it was just perfect, and of course the romance was just sensational as well. But I loved the second book even more, and this is Training the Heart. This was also given workplace. It was more like forced proximity as well. This was just even better. This followed Ivy and Wade's story. Like, there's not much to say about it other than if you love the Chestnut Spring series, you will love these books so much. Okay, and number 7 we also have a series, and this is on Kindle Unlimited, and this is the Vancouver Storm series. I've now read the first 3 books. I think there only are 3 books out so far, but there are more to come. These are hockey romances. We love a sports romance, but we specifically love a hockey romance, like college hockey. Guys, it's so good. Why can I not remember a thing about these books? Welcome to a good start to the YouTube channel. Honestly do not remember what these are about other than the fact that they were sensational. First one is like Grumpy Sunshine. The second one is like reverse Grumpy Sunshine. He's like a golden retriever and she was the one who like needed like coaxed out her shell, which I loved. The second one was definitely the best. One I just read most recently was Friends to Lovers. I've not read a good Friends to Lovers in so long. I literally do not know what Stephanie Archer is putting in these books. I don't know why they are so good. They just are. It's like the exact formula I like in a romance. They're so easy to read, they're so addictive, but they're also just high quality. Like, I just love them personally. I honestly would have been shocked if an Emily Henry book did not end up in my reading wrap up this year. Of course we have Funny Story. Funny Story was just incredible. I remember reading it on my last day in Greece. It was just like, oh, this book is like nostalgic more than anything as well. This follows Daphne, who basically her boyfriend has just broken up with her, left her for another girl, and now she's invited to the wedding. The romance is between her and the boy who the girl that her boyfriend left her for was going out with. Does that make sense? Not really. So they've both been left by their exes who now are together and have invited them to the wedding. So what do? They start fake dating so that they can be each other's wedding dates. I'm going to say something controversial that I loved about this book. I loved the fact that she wasn't initially attracted to him. I loved the fact that he was a slob. At first she was like, who is this guy? Like, I'm not attracted to him. The girls and the female gaze, we get it, that it's the boys who aren't stereotypically attractive that you end up fancying so much more than like the boys with like perfect abs and perfect hair. just me. That's why I loved Miles so much. Emily Henry's books are always so much more than romance books. She's a romance writer, but her books are so much more than romance books, if that makes sense. The romances are always amazing, but it's her writing and her storytelling, and it's the characters and the things that they go through that make Emily Henry's books so special to me. So I loved this one so much. In sixth place, absolutely deservedly so, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, follows a girl who is living in the Syrian revolution. Her country is absolutely war torn and she is trying to care for her brother's sister who is pregnant. She is also being haunted by these hallucinations, which basically replays all of the horrors she had seen. She is working at a hospital, but she is trying to make the decision, should she flee Syria or should she stay working at this hospital? One day she meets a boy and it changes things. This is genuinely one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in my life, and it's a book that I think everyone should read. It absolutely ripped me to shreds. It's one of those books that doesn't feel good when you're reading it because it is so painful to read, but you just can't put it down because you're like mesmerised at how beautiful and tragic, and it's everything that a book should be. I think literally does what a book should do, and it just makes you feel. Okay, now we're getting into the top 5. So unironically, in 5th place we do actually have a fanfic, and a Harry Styles fanfiction at that, and it's Devil's Due. I only got into a lot of fan fiction, but specifically Harry Styles fan fiction this year. I need to say anything, of course it changed my life, but the one that really changed my life, Devil's Due. I really don't know what it was about it, like I just ate it up. Harry is like a tattoo artist, but like he's doing some dodgy stuff behind the scenes, and River is just like a sweet girl. Like River is just, but like she's not like annoying sweet. Like I related to River a lot. She has some mutual friends with these people, and then she meets Harry, and then basically something happens that she kind of gets caught up in all this criminal stuff, and Harry is just immediately like, I'm gonna guard you with my life, like even when he like pretends he doesn't like her. Guys, it's so good. What I love, see specifically in fan fictions or just books in general, where it's super slow burn and like the guy is horrible at first, I need at least 10 chapters in the middle where they are together and we just get to see him being a sweet angel to her, and that's exactly what we got with Devil's Due. At the time I didn't give it 5 stars, but then I realised I could not read any other books or think about any other books since reading it. I'm also so sorry if you keep seeing like the angle of the camera changing. It's cause my battery keeps running really low on this camera, so I keep having to like stop, charge it, take it out again, so apologies. But okay, then my 4th favourite book of the year was without a doubt Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. I discovered the Boys of Tommen series this year. Best discovery of my life, might I add. It was everything that people hyped it up to be, but especially Keeping 13. I loved Finding 13, but Keeping 13 literally destroyed me. Keeping 13 was like, it was simultaneously like the best and worst book I've ever read, because it was so like, it really was one of those books where I cried over it so much that I genuinely had to remind myself that like these events did not actually happen. Like these people do not exist. Nothing that happened in this book is real, because it just emotionally affected me so much, which once again I always say is the most powerful thing that a book can do. For any of you who aren't familiar with the Boys of Tommen series, the series initially follows Shannon and Johnny. So Shannon has a pretty terrible home life and she basically moves from her old school to this private school because she's been so badly bullied. Johnny goes to that private school and he is like the star rugby player, comes from an amazing family and just kind of has it all going for him. And when they meet on Shannon's first date, he pretty much just takes her under his wing and is basically like her protector. I absolutely fell in love with this series. I think at first it feels quite juvenile, but then you just cannot help but become so invested in these characters and in the things that they're going through, because it's just heartbreaking but also leaves you with like so much hope at the end of it. If you have not read this series, I could not recommend enough. Okay, into our top 3 now. I'm nervous. Number 3, we have Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. Into the Dark is the last like installment of BJ and Magnolia's series and the Magnolia Park series. This book is incredible. This is also one of those books where I rated it 4 stars when I read it and then realised that I literally could not stop thinking about it for months afterwards. Honestly, just like broke me but also healed me. I related to Magnolia in this so much. A huge part of this story is grief. I was kind of scared going into it being like, is this just going to be so much sadness? And it is, but it's worth it. And it has an end and it has a point and it is so healing, but it made me absolutely sob my eyes out within the first like 20 pages. I'm not even joking. I just think that's so powerful that a book can do that, and I just adored this one so much. Then the second best book I read was actually the second book I read this year, and this is Morning Star. So Morning Star is the third book in the Red Rising series. It is actually the book that made me be like, the Red Rising series is officially my favourite book series of all time. I honestly could not say enough good things about this book. The Red Rising series in general, I love with my whole heart. It kind of gives like the Hunger Games but on Mars, the initial storyline. It's like set in the future where society has like moved on to living on all the different planets, and society has been like remodeled into a hierarchy of colours. So the golds are like the gods, they are the elites of society, and the reds are basically nothing. Our main character, Darrow, he is a red. He one day joins a rebel group where he is remodeled into a gold so that he can infiltrate the gold society with the gold of taking them down. I would consider this high fantasy, but as someone who is literally not a fantasy reader, I ate this up, so do not be put off by it. The reason I say it's high fantasy is just because it's honestly so impressive the way it's written and the way it all connects, and the plot twist, everything is so good. But this book did make me bawl my eyes out. I was not okay after reading this book, but it just showed me how much I truly loved it, and yeah, it was just incredible. Last but not least, our favourite book of 2024, unfortunately, it is Manacled. All the people who have read Manacled will be sitting here right now being like, okay, yep, of course. If you've never heard or never read of Manacled before, let me just tell you a wee bit about it. It's a Harry Potter fanfiction, but it's a romance between Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy. It's basically set in an alternate universe where basically the good guys didn't win and Voldemort won. And basically now it's kind of a Handmaid's Tale situation where basically the women are being kept as prisoners to be given to like purebloods to have kids with. Horrifying stuff. Hermione is given to Draco Malfoy. So immediately you're like, wow, okay, so where's the romance? Like, how does this improve? You just need to wait and see, because this, genuinely, I can say for a fact, like all of these books I've kind of spoken about did impact me emotionally so much. Nothing compares to the way that Manacled affected me. Like, I had a pit in my stomach for days afterwards. I like could not stop thinking about it at all. Just one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read. I could not put it down. It's apparently like over 1,000 pages as a book. I read it in 2 days. I read it in a weekend because I physically could not put it down. It was life changing. I would recommend everyone to read it. I will say it's been taken off of AO3 this year, but it is going to be published, which is super exciting. If you didn't know about that, it's going to be published this year as an actual book. Obviously for copyright purposes it will be published under different characters and stuff like that. It won't be the Harry Potter universe, but it will be the same storyline. So I cannot wait to read that when it comes out and just honestly experience the pain all over again. It really is one of those books where like if I see something on social media about it, it ruins my day. It's the best book I've ever read, but it's also something that I kind of try to forget about because it affected me so much. So worth the pain, and I literally cannot recommend it enough. But yeah, so those are my favourite books of 2024. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm basically so excited to start being a wee YouTuber. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they will be linked in the description, and I will see you guys next week for another video.